This is the Surly Grognards for January 11th, 2016. This is Peter Bowman, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Eric Carlson. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. It's a new year.
Hooray! We're not dead yet.
No, we're alive. We didn't record last week because I had another podcast I had to record because we had to get it out. We hadn't recorded in forever, and I wanted to get that out of the way. And my voice wasn't up to doing two podcasts in a row on Monday. At that point, I've been sick, so
Yeah.
I still have a bit of it. You probably can hear the sound effects of it. I'll probably cough a couple times during the show, but I'm doing much better now. So,
Hooray! Let's
uh,
play.
let's play. Yes, yes, I am. Yeah. So, before we go any further, just want to say, get this out of the way. I just want to say thank you to David Bowie for being awesome. That's all I got to say about that.
Fuck you going back to your home planet.
Yeah. Anyways, we got better things to talk about. Well,
Yes.
happier things to talk about. Uh, yeah. This week, Eric and I are going to talk a bit about adaptations of villains from one sort of medium to another.
Yes.
Um, this is I got the idea for this because this past weekend I've been watching and finished up this morning after being up far too late last night and then realizing I had to go to sleep and then getting up and finishing it off. Jessica Jones on Netflix.
Hooray!
Because Netflix is the devil, and whether you're watching a TV show, they'll scroll right into the next episode. If you're not, so it's like
You're not right on top of it. Yeah.
I'm sitting going, oh, the next episode's it's the next episode starting. Okay, I'll watch this one, fine. But this is the last one. I'm going to bed. Oh, the next one's starting. Okay, just one more, fine. And eventually, I said, oh God, I should go sleep. One more episode though, and that was the last one.
Yeah.
And I went to bed, woke up this morning, did some stuff, finished off Jessica Jones. But specifically, I wanted what got me in the mind about this was David Tennant's uh, portrayal of Kilgrave, aka the Purple Man.
Yes.
Um, and I have to say, I've not read the comic that Jessica Jones, the show, is based on.
I have, but it's been a while. Yeah. Alias, aka Jessica Jones,
Right.
well, it was pretty damn good. I really enjoyed the art in it, which was the standout thing, and I liked the thing in the comic that they don't do in the series is that Jessica used to be like one of those like tertiary members of the Avengers
Mm-hmm.
before Kilgrave gets his claws into her.
Right. Now, if I remember correctly, Purple Man had been a sort of a bit minor supervillain around in Marvel for a while.
Yeah, he'd been kicking around doing his spooky brain control stuff, but he wasn't on par with like Doctor Doom or Magneto or even like Mr. Sinister or Mystique.
Or there are tons of villains who are far more memorable than Kilgrave, than the Purple
Yes.
Man. Tons and tons of them. Um, I mean, hell, uh, you know, the Juggernaut is far more memorable.
Yes. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
And the Juggernaut's not
Internet meme.
the Juggernaut's not even that interesting a villain.
He's
Excuse me.
he's not. All the things that makes Juggernaut interesting comes from his relationship with Charles Xavier.
Yes.
And beyond that, he's just an angry, strong guy
Hmm.
with an admittedly interesting look.
Yes. But that can only carry you so far.
Yeah, and they I was just remembered X-Men 3, where he was nominally in that and was for some reason a mutant.
Yeah,
And
well, yes, because X-Men 3 happened, and we don't discuss that movie.
what a terrible movie! What an
It's
excellent example of poorly translated villains.
Oh God, yeah. Probably, yeah. Oh God, that movie's just terrible. I finally have seen it, and
It's
oh,
Yeah,
I
the
knew I
way it
wasn't.
shits all over Magneto. who they'd
Yes.
already established as an intelligent, sympathetic villain, and have him go completely batshit insane and lose any sympathy that the audience may have had for him, and become just outright stupid. Like,
Yeah. Well,
ah,
Singer wasn't involved in that movie, so
just meat grinding that like mutants to stop the cure, and she's like, no, that's not how Magneto operates. That is not how the Magneto you previously established would operate.
nope. There's just so many different ways that movie was bad, but oh my god, it was just a bad movie. And like even ignoring it as an adaptation of anything from X-Men, it's just a bad movie.
It really is. Yeah, that also had Legion in it, who was also a bad adaptation. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, there was a lot of bad things about that movie.
but but specifically back to the Purple Man.
Mm.
I knew he existed. I knew okay, he was. I knew he was a mind control guy and stuff, but I could not remember almost anything about him.
When I read the comic book, the Jessica Jones comic series, 10, 15 years ago at this point, it was my first encounter of the Purple Man,
Uh-huh.
and I knew he had previously existed because I'd heard him write about him being mentioned in other shit as like, oh yeah, and Purple Man too, kind of deal.
Right.
And like, wow, what a vile place to take that character.
Well, it's Bendis. What do you expect?
Yeah, but it was done really well. Right down to the fact that in the comic, at least, the art style changes entirely when he's in charge. When you're dealing with when someone's under the influence of Purple Man.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's got most of the comic is a very sort of painterly with like painterly look with a lot of gradients, a lot of like thick bold lines, very artsy, and then it goes to like total classic like 90 90s style when Purple Man's in charge of someone and you're seeing things through their eyes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder how much that is on Bendis. That's interesting. I don't know. It's one of those things
Yeah.
I just like. I'm curious about that. I mean, I think part of the reason that one probably works better than a lot of other Bendis's work that I'm not a fan of is that it's at its core very sort of it's a noir story. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. It's also a very down to earth story. Very that just happens to involve a lot of fanciful elements from the Marvel universe.
right.
Like Iron Man shows up, Nick Cage is there, like Thor shows up, which is weird.
Well, Jessica was an auxiliary member of the Avengers at one point before that.
Yes.
So, but
Which she's not in the comic, but and the TV series because the Avengers are a brand newly minted team and they haven't been around for decades like they had in the comic.
right, which I think actually helps the feel of the story.
I think so too. Definitely from an adaptation point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the comic was aimed squarely at people that had already been firmly like drenched in the Marvel universe.
Right.
And like while the show is very much like, and here's an introduction to another aspect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe involving new characters that you haven't met yet.
Right.
So
But so I can't really comment on Tenet's version of Kilgrave compared to the version that Bendis wrote in the comic.
he was in the comic he was kind of vile, but like almost sort of generically so.
Right.
In the show, there is a very much more of a much more like personal ickiness to him. Like he is another. He and Loki are the two best villains to come out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I would actually I differ slightly on that, but we'll get to that.
Okay, but he is so much more. Partially because you're watching David Tennant, who for me at least, is was the Doctor. He was one of the Doctors.
Hmm.
It's what I've seen. His work that I'm most familiar with, and now he's just like this sort of vile anti-Doctor,
Yeah,
working entirely from on everything he does is entirely motivated by selfishness, even if he doesn't think it is.
as Gav, one of our regulars in the chat, he pointed out earlier, and he mentioned again here, there's a definitive childishness of him, sort of just underlying
Yes,
everything.
yes, that's an excellent point, and that is probably where I was going to end up in about an hour.
But he definitely grew up. It's that era of a child who grew up with no one ever saying no to him because
Yes,
he basically
because they
did.
couldn't.
Right. After a certain point, yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
he's very much like arrested in that sort of selfish teenager point.
mhm.
Um, yeah, selfish, spoiled brat. That's an excellent description of him. It's just that he's a grown man, a very smart grown man, and is fucking evil.
Yes. He's a sociopath.
Yes.
He's a classic sociopath in a lot of ways.
Um, I was gonna say psychopath, but no, sociopath makes more sense.
Yeah,
Because
it's
he definitely has a huge amount of sense of self preservation,
yes,
which is without the lack thereof is a defining trait of psychopathy.
right. He's a fascinating character in a lot of ways, and Tenet, the way Tenet played him was just
Yeah,
spot on.
Ted so sells like every aspect of this vile yet weirdly pathetic individual. Like you you want terrible things to happen to him, but at the same time, just sort of like he's pathetic in that sort of like he's pathetic in kind of the same way Donald Trump is.
Okay.
It's sort of like completely he completely lacks self-awareness. And Tenet sells that.
Yeah. Again, he's. It's. It's sociopathy. It's
Yeah.
the other thing. I want the main comparison I want to draw with him, honestly, is and sort of the way they actually handled sort of telling his story, because they do. Um, is comparing it to the way they told Wilson Fisk's story in Daredevil,
Yeah.
the Kingpin, and
Another really good adaptation.
I think I a fucking brilliant one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Here's the thing: Wilson Fisk is the antagonist, but he's not really a villain towards the end.
no, towards the end he was a villain. No. He was no. By the end he was completely a villain.
Yes. It takes about 3/4 of the way through until he becomes like a villain, like full on like super bad guy.
Well, the thing with the difference between the two of them um, is that Fisk is at his core a vastly more sympathetic character.
Yes.
And for much of the
You
show,
don't want to slap some sense into Fisk,
well, you want to slap sense into him.
but you don't want to just.
But the thing is, sense in theory, could be put into Fisk.
Yes.
That can't happen with Kilgrave.
Yeah, and he's. It's one of the reasons why he is so obsessed with Jessica is
Right.
that Jessica is the only person that can say no to him, and this drives him insane.
It's simultaneously he's fascinated by it and intrigued by it, but it also infuriates him.
Yeah, she's a scab he can't help picking.
Yeah.
The smart thing for him to do would be to just stay the fuck away from her and continue living in anonymous cybernetic delight where nothing he does is his fault because no one tells him it is because they can't.
Right. And Fisk, at his core, during the Daredevil series, for much of it, believes that what he wants to make things better. That he's trying to
Yes.
fix things.
he is Fisk is absolutely convinced that he is the hero of the story, and while he's making unpleasant bedfellows, it is all for the greater good
He,
and are
he,
necessary sacrifices toward the story.
he's aware that he's an anti-hero, I think.
Yes. No, he like I said, he's aware that he's making some questionable decisions, but is convinced that they're all for the greater good and they'll work out for the best in the end. They are necessary. It's the price of doing business as far as he's concerned.
Right, as I said, but there's a difference. But that's the big difference right there. And Vincent D'Onofrio, again, like just killed that role. He was fantastic.
Yes.
Those both Tennant and D'Onofrio were amazing.
They both knocked it out of the park.
I mean, oh my god. And I, whoa. But that's the thing is, it's really interesting looking at how they do something very similar with both characters and show their backstories and as a way to sort of hint at aspects of you should feel you like here's why you could feel sorry for this character in some way, shape,
Right.
or form. Except that with Kilgrave, they very intentionally make it point out that you really can't feel sorry for him because I mean you feel there's yeah it's a shame that he is a sociopath but there are functioning sociopaths out there is the problem.
Yeah. And that's the thing. The showing Kilgrave's past serves to make doesn't make him sympathetic. It makes him pathetic in a vile way. It sort of strips away all the pretense there and leaves only that there's like disgusting core to him.
Right.
While with Vincent D'Onofrio, it's like, oh, that I'm sorry, dude. Yeah, I totally see how you can like walk down this path and like there, but for the grace of God, go I type of deal.
Right. Well, I mean that's the thing is that I mean, and the big difference between the two of them is that at their core, as I said, Kilgrave is a sociopath. Fisk is a borderline megalomaniac.
Yes.
And Beck in the chat, so the Kilgrave sort of thing is sort of like Zycon from Order of the Stick. When they do his backstory, a comic, which I think I've lent to you at some point.
Yeah, I've got it kicking around here somewhere.
And it really it's like, oh, look at this tragic, sad backstory. No, he's just evil. And that's I think is a fast. It's and I think.
Stab yourself for every year you left me alone. It's like,
Oh my god,
dude.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, but like, there's this wonderful bit where Jessica is there with Kilgrave, like living with him
Yes.
briefly, and he basically she basically tries to show him how to be a good person, and it's really fast. It's like wow, he's helping and doing everything, and he comes out of it feeling great for having help, but for all the wrong reasons,
Yes.
and it's profoundly creepy. Especially
Yeah.
his sort of assertion that like that literally the only way this could possibly work is if she's there to direct him.
Yeah. And it's yeah, because he needs an outboard conscience.
Well, but the thing is the problem at that point is how long can she control him?
Yeah. How long before he just says, nope, I'm not playing this game anymore? Because that's what it would be.
Right. And and you can see that's exactly where his brain is going.
Yeah.
Because this is an amusing distraction from everything else I've done. It's different.
This is new and different. I'll try this for a while until I get bored, and then I'll probably order all my mooks to murder you because that's how I work. I mean, I didn't murder anyone. Other people did it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Ugh. But both he and Fisk are, and oh my god, I probably should rewatch Daredevil just so I can at some point just because I really enjoyed the show. It's just so interesting. Like Fisk is such a I'm trying to think how to phrase this. I mean, as I said, he thinks he's an anti-hero is the thing.
Yes.
That's the most fascinating thing about him is like all great villains, he's like a lot, not
He's
all, but
convinced he's doing the right thing.
not like all great, but like a lot of great villains, I should say. He thinks he's doing the right. Not just that he thinks he's doing the right thing. He thinks he's the only one who can do the right thing,
Right.
and he knows that it means doing things. He is like, I'm doing the right thing, even if it means doing things that are questionable, as we said earlier. And
Right. It's just the price of doing business. It's what needs to be done.
and
There's a sort of a sense of self martyrdom to Fisk. Also, it's like,
yes,
I will take this sin upon me so that no one else has to, kind of deal.
right. And then you see as he realizes as the story goes along that he's not the antihero.
Mm.
That this is actually all purely selfish motivation.
Yeah, and it all clicks, and then he embraces it with one of the best villain speeches in a long, long time.
Oh my god, it's so good. And oh, but I do want to say before we get we're going to talk about some other villains in a second. And I will say this also, we're largely going to be talking about superhero villains, just because they're the ones that have been most adapted across genre, like, across mediums.
Yes.
There are a few that go from like novel format to TV or to movies and such, but the thing is, I want to touch on one thing about the two shows. Is I do think that as a whole, Daredevil's probably a slightly better show than Jessica Jones was.
I think
Despite
so.
despite
Maybe. I don't know.
I
They're two very different shows.
they are very different.
I mean, there are a lot of aesthetic similarities, but one's a detective noir story where the main character happens to have super strength, and it happens to be and her antagonist happens to be a sociopath with brain control powers.
Right.
The other one is much more of like a almost a Hong Kong action hero with much grittier feel to it. It's very much a vigilante story.
Yeah, it is.
Fighting against corruption. Almost like a Robin Hood minus the theft.
Well, I mean, there are a bunch of Hong Kong films that are along that line, honestly.
Yeah. Which
and
is why I brought it up.
Right. There are any number of Chow Yun Fat stories that fall into that
Yes.
sort of arc. The thing is that I think Daredevil as a whole, I think the whole, like, all the ancillary side stuff clicks into the main story better than the stuff in Jessica Jones.
Mm.
Like all the side characters are great and important and are there to they largely establish sort of the world feel around Jessica, but they don't while they are tied to the story, they aren't part of it really, except as ways to sort of, because almost all of the side characters end up sort of being ways to move Jessica around.
Kinda, yeah.
Whereas in Daredevil, they are almost all the major side characters are active participants in the actual story, and that's because of the nature of the villains.
Yeah.
Because of who and what Kilgrave is, and who and what Fisk is, it's a very different nature for these side characters around and how they can impact the story. It's just the way things. It's just a necessity of the way things work.
I'd argue Luke Cage is much more of his own character.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they're not their own characters, because they
a
are.
lot of agency. But if you didn't call him eventually becoming a pawn of Kilgrave, then you were
not paying attention.
Yeah.
But at any rate, the advantage Jessica Jones has is, as much as I thought, Matt Murdock was well played and well acted, he's not as interesting a character as Jessica is.
This is very true. I will certainly agree with that. I mean, Jessica's she's sort of a wonderfully damaged person. She's the type of character I'd probably get very fed up with if I knew her in real life.
Oh God,
but
yeah.
She's endlessly interesting watching.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, She's a far more yeah. It's it's I really liked the way they handled the woman who I can't remember her name now. God damn it, look this up now.
The actress for
Yeah,
Jessica Jones. Yeah,
I'm terrible at names.
I've
Kristen
seen her
Ritter.
in other stuff, but
Kristen Ritter.
yeah,
She was fantastic. I mean, absolutely fantastic.
yeah, she really hit that sort of like that sort of cracked and broken hard shell. It's been like super glued back together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like she was like classic um classic noir like hard boiled detective.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And but
Complete with the whole out of all the bars I've been to, why'd I walk into his?
right. But Karen and Foggy are in Daredevil are just such amazing characters.
Avocados Outlaw.
And as much as I like the side characters in Jessica Jones, I loved them. They were great.
Yeah.
I
What's her face? The blonde whose name I
oh
can't remember.
Trish.
Yes, Trish was great.
Oh, she's wonderful. But I don't have the same sort of, I don't didn't establish quite the same sort of connection to her as a character that I do to Foggy or to Karen.
I don't know. I found Trish much more interesting than Karen.
Really?
Yeah.
I disagree there.
Just the degree of patience she has.
I sure, but Karen is the biggest goddamn hero in Daredevil.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, what she does with in dealing with all the shit's going on as a normal person
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
amazing.
the whole bit with her like sticking up for the tenements, for the various like
I
crappy
mean,
tenants, and the old
yeah,
lady who doesn't speak English.
yeah, and just the way she decides that she no matter what, she is going to make sure that she's going to take this down if she can, and she knows she is completely over her head, and that doesn't stop her.
Yeah.
It's just, she is one of the most admirable characters I've seen in any of the Marvel stories, in Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. It's amazing. She is incredible. It just it's it. She's the biggest goddamn hero in Marvel right now, in many ways. It's amazing. She's amazing. She really is. That said, we should talk about some other villains that have been adapted. Uh,
Sure.
and you talked about Loki.
Okay. Yes.
And I want to say I think Kilgrave, Loki, and Fisk are definitively the three best villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like not even close.
Like none of the others have really stuck around long enough for us to really get a feel for them. Like okay, Winter Soldier. Okay, great. He's the Winter Soldier, except yeah. He was a decent adaptation, but you don't really get the same. He's a walking plot point.
Yeah,
He's a
largely.
MacGuffin.
Yeah,
It's just like he is in the comic, honestly.
yeah, absolutely. I agree completely.
And but he doesn't have his own motivations. He doesn't have any agency in the story.
None. I agree.
He's very much he is a tool wielded by the actual guys in charge.
Well, the real villain of the Winter Soldier is the senator played by Redford.
Yes.
I mean, he's definitively the villain of that piece, and is amazing because Robert Redford. Who knows his way around a spy story? Let's just say this.
Yeah, yeah. No question there.
He's been in a bunch of absolutely fantastic ones, and yeah. But yeah, I really dug that. But Loki.
Poor fucking like Christopher Eccleston being just completely overshadowed in Thor: The Dark World by what's his name? The guy who played Loki.
Tom Hiddleston.
Thank you. Yeah,
Oh,
he's just completely overshadowed. Like his character is Malekith the Cursed. He's got the whole like hell thing with like half being all creepified and the other half being elfin. And yeah, he's just completely overshadowed by Loki because the character didn't have a fucking personality in that story.
yeah. I Malekith has not been one of the most interesting characters in Marvel, period,
He's
ever.
never
So.
really been an interesting character. He's largely there to do some sort of mystic bullshit for Thor to punch.
Yeah, largely. And Loki is, I mean, he's a well done villain in the Marvel comics.
Yes,
But Hiddleston just adds a certain
he brings a lot of the
gravitas.
charisma that feels like it's missing from the comics.
Yes,
Like,
it's not
yes,
just
I will believe what you say, even though you have lied to me every fucking time because you're just so fucking charming. And as soon as you're 10 feet away from me, I'm probably going to go, wait a minute.
right. It's not just that. It's not just the charisma though. It's there's a certain gravitas to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he has this element of he is a noble prince in this weird sort of Machiavellian. He's a prince in the Machiavelli way in many ways.
Yes. No, absolutely. And Hiddleston nails that. And at the same time, like there's a degree, he brings a degree of for all his all the posturing and speechifying and cutting plans and wheels within wheels bullshit. Hiddleston never forgets there's a certain degree of vulnerability to him
Right.
because there's at Loki's core he's the adopted kid that just who has never been the favorite.
Right.
And there's like sense of like utter resentment there and overcompensation.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is,
And then he gets slapped around like a rag doll by the Hulk because that's hilarious.
but he's not he wasn't the favorite. He knew he wasn't the favorite. And he was told he wasn't the favorite effectively
Yeah.
by Odin because Odin's not very good at being a dad. Let's be honest here in Marvel.
To be fair, Odin's not very good at being a dad in the mythology either.
Well, no, because he's a Norse. Yeah, I mean, better than Zeus.
It's because Zeus basically has sex with it. Says, "Okay, I'm done."
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you got powers? All right. Well, here's a cookie. I'm done.
Yeah. But yeah,
At least Odin's there.
yeah, exactly. He may be screwing up, but he's trying a little bit.
Trying.
At least a little bit. But at any rate, Hiddleston's Loki is just so wonderfully, as you said, he's charismatic, he's regal, and he is a complete bastard.
Yes.
And it's marvelous. I adore him completely. As I said, I've got a personal sort of just adoration for D'Onofrio's Kingpin.
Yeah.
He's my favorite of the Marvel villains so far, just because the Marvel Cinematic Universe villains so far, just because he's so. I think I think it's not fair entirely because he's starting from the most interesting in the comics of the three.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Like as we said, Kilgrave outside of the aka Jessica Jones, alias aka Jessica Jones, he's really not that memorable at all. And
Yeah.
Loki is in the comics a little, you know.
Well, it depends on the story, but yeah, Loki is.
I mean, yeah, well, that's true for anybody, but like as a
Yeah,
whole,
but
Loki
Loki
is
is generally sort of like not that great and is easily overshadowed by a bunch of other excellent villains.
Well, I mean, the big problem for Loki is that he's a fine villain. It's just that he, like a lot of, like, he's not as nuanced as Fisk is.
Right.
And that's where the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Hiddleston's portrayal of him adds a lot of nuance to the character, which helps immensely.
Absolutely.
Um,
And then you have poor Doctor Doom,
yeah,
who has not had a good adaptation outside of one cartoon.
and he was in what 3 episodes?
Yeah. Granted, he knocks those 3 episodes out of the
Out
fucking park.
oh my god, yeah. Doom's portrayal in Avengers.
It's just a cameo. He sort of breaks down a door, goes, "Here's a flash drive. Bye."
Basically, except he's Doom, so he makes it awesome. But yeah, that's the thing, is that he's amazing in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Absolutely amazing. And Loki's sort of okay. He's fine. He's basically the comic book Loki.
Overshadowed by Doom.
He's a comic book Loki. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Earth's Mightiest Heroes does a really good job of capturing the feel of the characters from the comics.
Absolutely.
Like and not just they're not like the feel of the character at the heart of the character where everybody sort of like it's got the version of Iron Man that make people like Tony Stark.
Yes.
As opposed to the later ones where you want to hit him with a frying pan repeatedly. It's the interesting, lovable version of Captain America, not the sort of boring and staid version.
Right.
It's the fun version of Hawkeye. It's the fun version of Wasp. It's the sympathetic version of Ant-Man.
It's the smart version of Hulk.
Yes.
Hulk is so much better when he's allowed to actually have dialogue and be smart.
He's the stuff where Hulk is not, like the early stuff where Hulk is not, works brilliantly because it's not, that's the story's about Banner.
Right.
And that's the thing about the Earth's Mightiest Heroes version of the Hulk is they don't let you forget Banner is there.
Yeah.
Like every other time where you have Hulk able to communicate and being sort of somewhat under control, Banner is completely forgotten.
Mm.
And in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, they don't. Banner is a key part of the character, and that's why one of the things I love about that. But the villains in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, it's exactly the same. Like the Red Skull is the Red Skull from the comics.
Right.
Arnim Zola is Arnim
Galactus
Zola.
is Galactus.
Right. All of them are. And Doom is Doom. It's a straight. It's not even.
It's a straight up lifted straight from the comics version of Doom.
And that's the thing is, so as much as I love Earth's Mightiest Heroes, it's not an adaptation of the comics. It's a direct translation to a different visual medium.
But then we look at the terrible Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah, well,
where Doctor Doom is just this pale, simpering shadow of what he could have been. This sort of
oh my god,
smarmy, pathetic thing that you can't take it even remotely seriously.
Yeah.
Particularly in the first one of the Jessica Alba. The guy playing Doom tries. He honestly tries, but he's not given anything to fucking work with.
Nothing to work with at all. Well, that's the thing is, there's some really good acting in that movie. There's some good actors who do as much as they can with the
Michael
parts.
Chiklis is still one of the best friggin' versions of the Thing.
Oh, well, that's because the thing that it's almost impossible to screw up Ben Grimm.
From what I've heard, they do in the friggin' most recent Fantastic Four.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I'm okay. I'm saved from that. How do you screw up Ben Grimm?
By being fucking dumb, going, oh, he's a big orange rock guy, that's all we need.
But he's one of the best Marvel heroes. He's such an iconic sort of. There's just so many different levels. He's got levels, and
levels are hard. People don't want levels. He's just a rock man. Go with it.
But he's he's the everyman. That's the thing.
No. That people don't want an everyman. People want Johnny Storm to be to quip and fly around on fire. And,
well, yes, we want that too. Yes, absolutely.
We'll just have an orange rock man.
But Ben Grimm's funny.
No.
And smart.
Guys can't be funny.
But oh. Oh, before I forget, Purple Man does show up in Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yes.
In one episode, and he is remarkably memorable.
Yes. Well, that's the one where he brain controls Tony Stark. Is like,
Yes,
you're doing this wrong. Here's how you're supposed to do it.
it's an amazing episode, and he comes across just like, oh my god,
And
that's
it
it.
does kind of make me question, like, Doom, where are you? This is totally up your alley. There's a villain controlling a hero and totally showing up. You should be like up in his grill, punching him over and over again. Because he could do that because you're Doctor Fucking Doom.
My gut feeling from that is that my sort of mental sort of excuse for that is Doom is spending his time trying to figure out a way to counteract Kilgrave's abilities.
Remember reading somewhere that Doctor Doom is the only person on Earth that is completely immune to Kilgrave's abilities because of his tremendous hubris. I cannot be controlled by the likes of you. I am Doom.
Yeah, I can see that. Although I do like my explanation for it. It's like Doom's like, oh, Purple Man's controlling him. I could go in there and do something, but there is a chance, a very slim chance, that Purple Man might be able to do something to me and actually affect
Doom
me.
bots. He's got legions of them.
Yeah, but Tony's got legions of Iron Man suits now, so.
Okay, fair enough.
And most of the Avengers under Kilgrave's control also.
Right.
So, yeah. I just wanted to mention that Purple Man, as much as I say Purple Man's forgettable from the comic books, they managed to take someone forgettable in Earth's Mightiest Heroes and make him just in this one episode going, oh well, fuck.
Okay.
Right, which is why when I heard Purple Man was in Jessica Jones, I'm like, okay, there's a reason. Like, I would have dismissed it ahead of time if it hadn't been for that I'd seen that version of Kilgrave. I'm like,
Right.
okay, this could be terrifying. And then I heard it was Tenet, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm in. But yeah, Doom in the movies just, oh my god.
How do you fuck up Doom?
The same way in a similar way you fuck up Ben Grimm, apparently.
Yeah.
You forget who the character is. I mean, that's what it is the problem. Is like, they're trying to get around, the problem is that they're trying to get around some of the things that seem on the surface monumentally silly. Yeah.
Yeah. Like him being a powered armored wizard technologist.
Who rules a country.
Yeah. And
like, all of that together is
that's
like...
part of what makes him awesome.
And that's the thing is... And it's, I think part of it is it's hard to write... It is hard to write that in a 2-hour movie. And have him, like, the problem with Doom for that is... The way you handle Doom is you don't have him as the first villain you deal with. You have him as sort of in the background, like maybe he's the guy who's sort of orchestrating things, the main thread of the first movie, and then reveal that he's there towards the end. And then the second movie is about Doom, so you've had time to establish Doom's sort of, sort of sort of exactly what Doom is, without him having to be on screen a lot and you having to write around some of his bullshit. And then in the second movie, you get to have him on screen, and all that's already established. The problem is that they
do the first, like assuming you're doing a Fantastic Four movie, you can do the first movie where they breach the negative zone and they have to fight an Nihilus. That's the story. But the whole time, you've got Reed Richards' like old college rival who hates him and his royalty, doing something else in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole reason the negative zone got split was because he was trying something in the next building over, which is not Latveria, because I'm not doing this shit in my country. I'm doing it in America where no one cares.
Yeah, Tachi in the chat mentioned, so sort of, what I'm talking about, sort of like the way they handled Moriarty in the Downey Sherlock. Yeah, or how they handled Moriarty in the Sherlock TV series, the same way. He's sort of behind the scenes being the puppet, sort of being, quote, the puppeteer or doing stuff, and then it's like, shit just got actually real. At any rate, excuse me.
But yeah, and like seriously, how you didn't even have that? Maybe it's the actor's fault, but I think it's more the script and the direction. But like, Doom didn't have that sort of weight of presence that he has to have.
Yes.
Like Doctor Doom, when he walks into a room, just owns that room.
Yes,
Not
absolutely.
in like a like fashion model kind of way, but like a all the attention is drawn inexorably towards him. And it's something you can do with camera work.
Yes.
That's something you do with camera work and like
The reactions of the extras in the scene.
yeah, and just every time Doom is filmed, the camera is looking up to him.
Except in the scenes with
And
where
in large pans, you see he's not actually bigger than anyone else. But when you get up to him, the camera inexorably looks up to him.
except in the scenes where he's there with Reed.
Yes, because that's when you establish that they're both the same height.
And you realize that Reed he doesn't look down on Reed Richards.
Right.
He hates him. He doesn't hate anybody else. They're not worthy
No
of
one
it.
else is worthy of his hatred.
Exactly.
This is a man who said, "I was a god once. I found it beneath me."
But some other adaptations of villains that I want to touch on. Magneto is another one that has to be talked about.
Yes.
We
He's had
talked
a bunch of adaptations because
tons.
have been profitable.
Yes. So you got multiple different cartoon versions of him, um, all of which have been slightly different.
Mm.
Several different movie versions, like different movies versions of him, played by the same actor,
Yeah, no shit.
doing his damnedest to make it to the same character.
Yeah. Props to Ian McKellen. He tried like a motherfucker to make that work.
And he tried so hard in the that third one. Oh my god, I felt so bad for him.
He's like, "Well, I'm getting paid and I'm a professional, so I'll do my best anyway. No one else seems to be." That's one of the things about that movie. Everyone kind of realized it was going to be crap. I mean, that was obvious from the way everyone was reacting to everything. Everyone sort of realized it was going to be crap.
It's oh my god, and I have not I am ashamed to admit this. I've not seen the two most recent X-Men movies. I've
Played
not.
by a different character or actor whose name I can't remember. Yeah, First Class and Days of Future Past, both of which I've seen. Who does a great job doing a much more. He gets that sort of damaged idealism that is the core of Magneto. Much more. It gives it sort of that.
It's Michael Fassbender.
Thank you. Damn, how did I forget that?
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, the core of Magneto is this sort of damaged idealism and fighting for what he thinks is right, and for the preservation of his people, or who he views as his people, and willing to break all of the eggs to do so. And you get that sort of. You get the beginnings of that in First Class. You see him becoming more and more disillusioned with doing things on the straight and narrow, and it's just like, you know what? Sometimes you just need to fucking kill someone.
Right. I have to see these movies at some point. I've been meaning to. I haven't gotten around to it yet. Which is why I can't talk about that version very much. So I have to lean on you on
Right.
this. But
yeah, Ian McKellen has like. Ian McKellen's Magneto is much more like a later stage one. He's like, yes, I'm aware I'm a monster. Yes, I'm aware I have to be a monster. But it's all for the right reasons, and you'll all thank me in the end.
Right.
And that, yeah, he really sells that aspect of Magneto. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, I know we're on. Yes, Charles, I know we're on opposite sides of this, but it's all for your own good. You'll thank me in the end. You might damn me as a monster, but you'll thank me in the end.
Right. And the versions of Magneto that shown up in the cartoons have all been they've been a mixed bag.
Yeah, the '90s one is just so Doctor Doom light.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate because they're different
Magneto's
characters.
Really interesting character. But yeah, the Magneto from the '90s X-Men comic was very much Doctor Doom light. He had all the all the bombast and speechifying and hubris,
And most of the presents.
and most of the presence. You just didn't have a country of magic powers or power armor.
Well, he doesn't need them in theory.
In theory, he doesn't. It's true.
And he does have a country later in the thing.
That's right. He does end up, taking over. What is it, Genosha?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Going, hey, you guys are enslaving mutants. We'll turn that around because I'm fucking Magneto and I can do that.
Yep.
Now, because of the '90s, I'm going to go to the Savage Land with Rogue, where her powers don't work, so we can become lovers. Because fuck you.
Because what?
Yes,
I know.
that happened in the '90s.
I know.
You know how Psylocke went from being a British empath to a psychic to an Asian psychokinetic ninja.
Yeah, I did.
You know what? Comic books don't need the. They don't need Hollywood to fuck things up. They can do it just fine on their own.
Oh, they do it on their own all the freaking time. As much as I love them, they fuck things up fairly often. All right, I do want to see if we can talk a little bit about there's one thing I want to talk about to wrap things up, but before we get to that, I do want to touch on maybe we should talk about a few villains that aren't comic book related.
Sure.
Any that leap to mind for you?
Well, Darth Vader's in fucking everything because he's Darth fucking Vader.
I mean, I guess we compare the movie version to the change to the comic book versions that have shown up, but I've not read a lot of the comic book stuff.
Yeah, I haven't read much of those. I'm thinking about the video game adaptations of Darth Vader.
Yeah, but he's doesn't get much screen time in them as a character for the most
He's
part.
mostly a boss fight. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little tricky. I was thinking more along the lines going from like novels to either TV series or movies.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of a good example of one off the top of my head. I mean, like we can start with one option that sort of leaps to mind really is Voldemort from the Harry Potter books into the movies.
Yeah. 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 Here's the. I never really felt Voldemort was a terribly compelling villain. I know that all the Harry Potter fandom is going to come down on me like a ton of bricks, but I never really found him that interesting.
I agree with you in the books, definitely. He's
Um,
more of a plot point in the books until like the last two.
Yeah, although I will say, like, the actor does a great job doing this sort of like completely over the top theatrical loon that I kind of expect Voldemort to be in the books.
He works much better in the movies, in my opinion. I
Yeah,
think part of that is just that I think the like the actual seeing how he's moving
yeah,
helps sort of convey parts of his personality that you don't get from just the pure text version, which is one of the rare times I will say that. Um,
yeah. He's not. Yeah, he's very much not much of a character. Like
he's
the closest thing you get to the character of Voldemort is the at least in the books is the diary that Ginny had.
yeah, a bit of that, and as I said, in the last two books, you get more of him on screen,
Yeah.
and you get to see more of him. But
I don't know. I thought his Snake was a more interesting character than he was in the books.
I won't go that far. But um,
Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter. There's a great villain that they really knocked out of the park with the film version, because she's, for all of Voldemort's like grand designs of evil and destruction and domination of the wizarding world and blah blah blah, she was all the petty little indignities that we have to deal with every day, given a face.
yes,
That, well, Voldemort you theoretically feared, you hated her.
yeah, I would agree with you on that.
And like the actress just totally nails that sort of condescending but I'm being so nice aspect of her.
Mm-hmm.
Even if she's doing very cruel things.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I
Although
would,
Tawani mentions Galactus is the worst adaptation. He uh, yeah, he was basically disco glitter.
mhm. One of the one I thought of just now was I don't know I don't know if you've read it or seen the movie. Have you read or seen read and seen the movie The Maltese Falcon?
I've not read it. I've seen the movie, but not for a very long time.
Oh, I want to touch on sort of the villain of that story, Casper Gutman or Gutman. I forget how his name's pronounced. Uh, just he is a wonderful classic sort of behind the scenes noir antagonist slash villain, and I have to get Sidney Greenstreet's performance as him and the way they wrote the character in the movie, because the movie's a bit different from the book, just because
Well,
it's
you're adapting to an entirely different medium, so
mhm,
that's to be expected.
right. And but there's this sort of trying to think of how to phrase this. I would say that Gutman in the movie is less. Uh, he is less. He's more human in some ways.
Okay.
It's hard to figure out how to phrase it. He's less grotesque.
Okay.
And I mean, Gutman is not like a horrible monster in the books at all. I mean, he's motivated entirely by one thing, which is greed. That's all there is to it. He wants the Falcon, and he'll do whatever it takes to get it.
Speaking of grotesque, I just realized the big obvious one, fucking Dracula.
Oh yes, good one, Eric.
How
How did
do we
I?
miss Dracula?
I
So
don't
long as
know.
it goes unmentioned.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just some of the different ways that he's been portrayed in film. I mean,
10,000. Yeah, Bela Lugosi, like sort of the evil aristocrat, all charm and oozing smoothness. The or Christopher Lee's just like frothing monster
right, and then on to Gary Oldman's version.
who nails that grotesque aspect.
Yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
very different monster than Lee's.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Lee's is almost animalistic.
Hmm.
Gary Oldman's is malicious.
Yeah,
Like there's an absolute sense of intentional, calculated, gleeful cruelty to Oldman's Dracula.
yep.
While with it's a much more primal character with Christopher Lee's, and they're both great.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I love all
I,
three.
I
I mean,
adore them both.
I do too. And yeah, I love Lugosi's version too. I mean,
Yeah, because yeah, and yeah, he's the definitive Dracula. He's the one everyone's been either rebelling against or emulating since the beginning of film, honestly.
basically, yeah. Oh my God, Dracula is a when done right is a wonderful villain.
When done badly, he's laughably silly. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm reminded of there was some sort of interim Batman cartoon between uh the Brave and the Bold and the DC animated universe by Bruce Timm. And I remember there was some sort of like Halloween special where Dracula shows up. Wow, Dracula was silly. His cape was ridiculous. He kept on going on and on and on about how we are both bats, blah blah blah, and it was just. I really just wanted Killer Croc to show up and punch him.
I think Dracula shows up in the comics too. Now I'm thinking about it,
Yeah,
and
almost
is
certainly, because he shows up everywhere. He's fucking Dracula.
yeah.
In fact, the only comic you can think of where he doesn't show up is in Hellboy, and instead he just deals directly with Vlad Tepes, who happens to be a vampire.
Nice. Oh boy. All right. So before we could go on like this for a long while, but I'm gonna have to wrap up soon so my voice doesn't completely go out.
Right.
Um, I do want to touch a little bit on some things we can take from all of this for adapting to tabletop games because I think I want to try, as always, I want to try to tie things, as much as we can to sort of what the show is putatively about, uh, as a whole. Um,
But when you're lifting a villain from directly from other fiction, it you really just have to more so than the mechanics of the villain, because you can always fudge those as the game master.
right, right.
But you have to get the core of the villain's personality there.
Yes.
Like, if you're say, because I happen to be looking at Privateer's website right now. So you're doing an Iron Kingdoms game and you want them to fight the Butcher of Kardov. You really have to get like for all the like kick-ass brutality that Butcher can lay out. You really have to get that sort of like well, depending on which version you're using. We'll go with Butcher Prom. You have to get that sort of focused hatred at the player characters, because the player characters are obviously traitors or are directly impeding the will of the Empress, and therefore threatening Lola, who is chest in his head. But god damn it, stop threatening Lola! I'm going to fucking kill you! How dare you!
Right, and,
and never forgetting that he's actually a really smart guy when he's not suffering from delusions. Like, he's not gonna fall for your stupid feint. He's not as much as he seems like a big dumb brute. He's not.
right. And stuff. That's the thing is that when you're running a villain, when you have a villain in an RPG, and you have to remember that if it's an actual like important villain, as we've said this before, but we really have to. It's one of the things that has to be said over and over again is it's less about what they can do and more about who they are.
Yes.
And that's the thing that you have to keep in mind is the villain's personality and what not just it's sort of what drives them. Why do they do what they do? I mean, it could be as simple as for the lulz. I mean, and
Yeah.
that can be made into a compelling and interesting villain. It's not
Look
easy,
at the Joker.
right? That's exactly. There's another one we could have touched on, but
Yeah.
um, I so many different wonderful versions of the Joker.
That's the definition of the for the lulz villain.
Yeah, especially yeah, in many ways, yes. Though that depends on the version of the Joker.
Yeah. Well,
Somewhat,
he has so
somewhat.
many different iterations, much like a lot of comic book characters.
Well, and I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about like the different adaptations of him. I mean, it's
Right.
like to levels of Dracula, variations. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
you've got Burgess Meredith's version in the original, the '60s version TV show. You got Mark Hamill's from the Bruce Timm version, the Batman animated series. You've got Heath Ledger's version from The Dark Knight. Uh, you've got God who the version who played him on Young Justice. Crap.
Oh, I don't remember.
I'm gonna look this up
Yeah,
now.
Young Justice. What an ill-served show. That's a great show with a lot of potential, but yeah, Cartoon Network. Fuck you.
Um, Brent Spiner.
Was that Brett Spiner?
Yes, I just looked
Holy
it up.
shit. Okay.
And oh god, John DiMaggio's version in Under the Red Mask
Mm.
was also
Oh,
really
right.
good.
Yeah, another really good one. Yeah,
Uh,
one of the things I really liked about that was he uses the same joke twice. Because clearly he thinks it's a great joke and he spent all week thinking of it and he's going to use it as many times as he can.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of the of Brent Spiner's version of it. Though I think that's mostly due to the writing, less to Spiner's voice acting.
Yeah, and he shows up like 2 episodes.
Something like that, one or two, I
Yeah.
forget. He's not in it a lot, but yeah, but that's the key is that you could take a particular character and you can spin it a lot of different ways too. Like exactly that way, like because as a Burgess Meredith's version, not Burgess Meredith, Cesar Romero. Burgess Meredith
Mm.
was the Penguin.
You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, Cesar Romero's Joker is a lot more lighthearted than almost any other version of him.
Yes.
He's less about like he's less about the psychopathy of the Joker and more about the gleeful, malicious. You know, he's malicious, but not in a truly monstrous way.
Yeah. Yeah. He's out for a laugh. That's
And
all he's really out for.
right, and his sense of humor is a lot more mean spirited.
Right.
But he's not like yeah, but and then there's Mark Hamill's Joker, who actually let's go over to Heath Ledger's, who's the completely other end of the spectrum.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean,
He there's not nearly as much whimsy there. He wears the Joker face as almost as like an ironic statement,
yeah,
and is all about the whimsy and the chaos and the
the nihilism.
yes, he's very much a nihilist. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, and then there's Mark Hamill's Joker, who is almost directly between them.
Yeah, he's an excellent halfway point and is probably the best.
Well, and I think it's because he hits so many different notes and makes them complementary.
Yes.
And some of that's on the writing, and a large number of chunks that's about half writing and half Hamill's performance. I mean,
Yeah, because Mark Hamill fucking like holy shit did he? Yeah, probably his best role.
yeah, I'd actually agree with that. As much as I love Hamill and a lot of other things, I loved Hamill in Star Wars for obvious reasons. And he's done other things I thought were a lot of fun, but oh my god, the Joker.
Yeah. Well, part of that is like Bruce Timm like performed this like amazing alchemy that just ended up creating the definitive versions of pretty much the entirety of the DC universe.
Uh, I'd agree with that. Yeah,
Like his Superman is the Superman I think of. His Batman is the Batman I think of. Um, like as much as I love like Guy Gardner and Kyle Rayner for Green Lanterns, John Stewart is Green Lantern.
yeah. And just across the board, I just adore like the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Oh yeah,
I
like
I
it's
adore.
such a shame he didn't get Blue Beetle and Buster Gold just hanging out shooting the shit in there because that would have been fucking amazing.
But like there are people I know who do not like Superman who like Superman in the Timverse.
Yeah,
And I mean, I didn't used to like Superman. I've grown to like him more over the years, and part of that was because of the Superman cartoon and Justice League,
yeah,
where
where
like,
Superman is fallible.
well, it's not just that. Tim grasped the core of what Superman's about, which is his humanity,
Yes,
despite that he's not human. And it's just
and,
I
yeah, and the great speech at the end where in the last episode of Justice League Unlimited where he's like, I live in a world of cardboard. I'm so terrified that with just a casual misstep I will crush or hurt someone, but you present a rare opportunity. It's just that first part is like that. Yeah, that makes sense. He's terrified of accidentally hurting someone, and it comes through in every moment in Bruce Timm's Superman.
yep. And I just there's a lot of things I just like and his version of Wonder Woman. It's just
Oh, she's great.
And like it's the only time like I. I've got just her like one of my favorite things about Justice League Unlimited is her interactions with Batman.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they just the two characters play off each other so well. I never would have thought of that, and it works perfectly.
Yeah, because everyone tries to pair up Superman and Wonder Woman because they both have superpowers. They're of the opposite sex. Therefore, they must make out. DC is doing it right now.
Right.
But like, yeah, it's just her and Superman are much more complementary because he's all brooding and violence and vengeance and the like, but not violence for its own sake. A very focused violence and never to kill.
Right.
Well, she's got a lot more compassion, but she's also much more willing to go that extra step and murder someone.
Well, I mean, the thing is that the interesting thing about that is that I think Tim looked at the personalities
Yes.
as opposed to their abilities.
So, yeah. And that's something a lot of people, including their creators, miss a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Is like you've got and the
I'm a rich guy with issues, lots of issues.
I mean that's the thing. Is she's a princess. Is the thing that like she grew up as royalty, and a lot of people forget that. And it's and she's got this.
Well, Bruce never lets you forget that.
Right.
He never lets you forget that she's royalty, and like as much as she's working hard to be down to earth and understand what people are going through, it's still a foreign experience for her.
And that's the thing is
there's a whole episode that's dedicated to her going out and partying with another princess.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is that Bruce is in the same position.
Yeah.
Because because of his he had nothing resembling a normal life. I mean, as a kid, he grew up with as a child of immense privilege.
Yeah, he
and then
he grew up without knowing what want was, well, except for that one really important thing.
Well, then he had the rug completely pulled out from underneath him.
Yes,
and it just, oh my god, the two of them. It's just, and it's not. I'm not even talking about like the romance part of it. I'm talking about just their personalities and how they interact with each other, and how they bounce off each other, and their dialogue is so well written, and the voice actors do a wonderful job doing it. At any rate,
Bruce Timm knew what the fuck he was doing.
Yes, he did.
And they're definitely adaptations, not direct transcriptions.
Oh, I agree completely.
Look at Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze, like Mr. Freeze is just a guy in a power suit with a cold gun. And Bruce Timm looked at him and went, there's a lot of potential here with this character. We don't know anything about him. Well, now we do. Tick, 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 tick. Let me write a script.
Yeah, they turned him into the second most pathos-inducing Batman villain.
Yeah.
Behind Clayface.
Yeah, who also was just an ugly guy that changed his shape. Let's give him a backstory.
Let's make him like just the most. Oh my god!
The biggest sad sack on Earth. They even did it with Killer Croc.
Yeah, but a little bit less so.
Yeah, well, Killer Croc is still
a monster.
Killer Croc embraces his violent thuggery.
Well, he knows he's a monster and is okay with it.
Yeah, he embraces that aspect of himself.
Whereas both Clayface and Freeze desperately want to get back to normalcy.
Yeah. Well, Croc never really knew normalcy.
Right, that's the thing.
One of my favorite episodes, I wish I knew what the name of it was. Croc actually ends up there's a car accident transferring him between prisons, and he escapes and ends up like washing down the river and like getting taken in by all these former circus freaks. And he's sort of seeing that there's more. There's a place where I can belong here. You guys have money? You guys have hidden money. Fuck it. I'm gonna rob you guys blind. and like the the kid with the flipper hands feet, literally like seal flippers, catches him in the act, and he's like, but why? Because I'm a bad guy. That's just who I am, and I'm okay with that.
All right, I think that's going to do it for me. My voice is going, and I'm coughing a bit more. So
Yeah,
that's going to do it.
you're definitely starting to flag there.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed the show. I hope you found something useful in it or entertaining or what have you. If you've got examples of villainous adaptations of villains that we missed that you think would be that we'd love to see them. I'm definitely curious to see about some of the ones that didn't talk about. I mean, there's several I'm
Yes.
thinking of that we didn't touch on, but I'd like to see what you guys all think. So if you got some examples of them, please email them to us. Our email address is surlygrognards@yahoo.com, surlygrognards @yahoo.com, or you can post them on our forums, which you can find at mechagm.forumer.com. Or if you're listening to the recording of this on YouTube, just leave a comment in the comment section, and we'll see it. Uh, and if you got, we usually try to save time at the end of the show for viewer questions. We ran a bit long today, and so we didn't do it because I'm an idiot. I meant to, but excuse me. But if you got questions, we do try to save time at the end of each show for viewer questions. So if you do, email them to us, post them in the forums, leave a comment on YouTube, and we'll try to work them into upcoming episode. If you got Additionally, if you've got feedback for us, ways we can make the show better, constructive criticism, and so on, or if we love getting that, it helps us make the show better. And if you've got show topic suggestions, we adore those because then we're able to talk about the things you want to hear about. Also means we spend less time having to come up with a topic right before the show.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah. Send them to us at any of those places, and we really do appreciate it. We record the show every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern here on hitbox.tv/mecha-gm. I tweet out when the show is going to go live on my Twitter. You can my Twitter handle is @mechagm, so keep an eye on that if you know when the show is going to go live. And if you're listening to this on YouTube and you're enjoying the show, feel free to hit like and subscribe. That way you know when new episodes go up. And the YouTube channel, by the way, for people listening to us live, is youtube.com/mechagm. And you guys, that's going to do it for. Yeah, I know. I'm creative. What can I say? Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all had fun. And we'll see you guys next week, hopefully. So until we see you next, be happy, be safe, keep on gaming, and we'll see you guys then.
Bye.